I get flown down there. They pay for my flight. And then everybody starts warning me about, the trafficking in Florida and how this works. And I have some guy who keeps knocking on my fucking door. Like the day one I'm there, right? I get a knock on my door in this beautiful rehab. It's gorgeous. Like I felt like I made it in life. I'm like, this is fantastic. This place is gorgeous, And it was like a feeling of I'm never going to get somewhere like this again. Like that's how it felt to me. And why would you not want a vacation while getting clean? Like in my head, that made sense. It's beautiful. It's dope shooting season in New York all the time. So that's, for me, made sense. We say this, that was actually said to me in Florida. But, so I'm in this place and this guy's knocking on my door nonstop. And finally on the second day, and I'm withdrawing so bad. I took one sub in there because I decided, why come out of here on subs? I was afraid to be stuck on them. So at that point in time, I was I'm just going to take one or two and see if I can get through the whole thing. Because of this, they think that I am a marketer or a broker pretending to be a patient in there to poach clients to go to another facility. They don't believe I'm from New York. They didn't believe anything about me. I get pulled into the office on day 2 after this guy keeps knocking on my door because I reported. I'm like, this kid keeps knocking on my door. I don't know what he wants. I'm sick. I think I'm dying. And they're like, oh, you aren't that sick. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sick. Some lady had to give me a shot in my thigh the night before, and they were debating on sending me to the hospital because my vitals were out. Well, this is the day after that. I bounce around. It's the ADHD. So I'm like, okay, I get pulled in the office. They're like, why aren't you taking your medication? And I'm like, because I don't really want to be stuck on it. He goes, so you only have a heroin addiction back home. Mind you, if you've been in the shuffle or you've been in any of these detoxes, everybody says that they're coming off benzos, alcohol, heroin. They give a nice, long, hefty list that may or may not exist because you get more detox meds. Well, you get in, you get the meds. Yep. Then they're going to give you Librium. They're going to give you Ativan. They're going to give you gabapentin. They're going to give you Suboxone. They are going to snowball you so that you're snowed and you can't, and you're going to feel great in there. Well, I did. I just told them what was true because I did not know how the game went. So they're like, okay, well, you work in a nursing home, not when it says Chautauqua Nursing and Rehabilitation, they originally thought that meant a rehab center in New York, not a nursing home. I'm like, I'm a 20-year-old girl who's just coming down here to get clean. I called a hotline net up down here, and he goes, so why aren't you taking the meds? You need to take the meds. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm fine. I'm taking my heart medication. I'm taking everything else. I don't need to take that. I've taken it before. I don't want it. So I'm in this art, and I'm not against it, but at that point in time, I didn't want it for me. So I'm fighting with this guy over it. Well, I was hanging out with another guy I'd met in there because, of course, this guy named Ryan, and who wouldn't care if I said his name. But so he apparently snuck in 50 Suboxones, and they assumed because he was also trying to bring people back to his halfway house that I was with him, and that somehow I was taking the subs that he was giving me, I was getting them from him, and we were together in this conspiracy selling them to the clients. I'd only been out of my room for a total of 3 fucking hours. I literally then got locked on lockdown in my room for 2 days. They would not let me out of my room. So now I'm sick in my room. Can't go anywhere. I feel like I'm fucking dying. I was better by day 3. Day 1 and 2 were really bad. Because I remember laying on the floor shower, staring up at the water and turning it from hot to cold every time I had a hot flash until they gave me clonidine or something. So then I was supposed to leave on day 6, but because I refused to go to long-term, I talked to my counselor and said I didn't feel comfortable going to long-term because the guy that kept knocking on my door saying he was my boyfriend, he eventually gets to me on day 3 or 4, and he explains the Florida Shuffle to me. We're just sitting there at a table next to the buffet. There was a huge buffet line here. You had massages, nail painting, It was a resort. And he's like, okay, listen, I know this looks beautiful, and I know you're probably this is amazing, and I don't ever want to leave, but you're going to get pulled into something that you don't understand. You're fresh meat. You're 20 years old. Your insurance ain't going to run out for another 6 years, girlfriend. You need to go home. And I'm like, oh, fuck that. I'm not going home. He's like, listen, I'm 26. I'm telling you this because I'm warning you. You need to listen to me. And I have these girls that are telling me, acting like I'm something there because they want me to go to their halfway house so they can get paid. So they're all like, hey, you want to come to my place? And one girl's like, aren't you an LPN? And I was not, but I lied and said I was because she started it, so I went with it. So I had this whole place thinking I'm a nurse, and I'm just yeah, I'm a nurse. It was not a nurse. And it was just hilarious. I don't know. And I felt so like wanted by people because they wanted the money from my insurance, but I didn't get that. So I'm like, I'm rolling with it. They didn't let me go on day 6. I called my marketer and told him I wanted to go home after my stay. He flipped the fuck out, told me I was an ungrateful piece of shit, and just is like, hey, you're gonna die. You can't go home. You know, the whole speech we get. And I'm like, okay, well, then I want to go to this halfway house with my friend Serena. And he goes, no, you're not doing that either. And I said, why? Why can I do that? I don't get it. He's like, because I'm your marketer. And I was like, I want to revoke you as my marketer. That's what I'm told to say. And he just hangs up. And I remember I'm like, when am I going home? When am I going home? So the next like 6 or 7 days, I was there for 11 days. I'm literally begging them to just let me go home because now I'm detoxed. I'm fine. I'm like, can I go home? I was only supposed to be there 6 days. So I finally get home. They let me go home. My mom had to pay for my flight home because, well, they weren't going to make all that money back. And my dumbass then decides a month later, now that I've already gone home and relapsed, that I'm going to bring Shane with me and we're going to go back again.
To Florida.
Yes. So I get home. That couple I'm talking about, I end up stealing a couple bags out of their desk drawer when they go on a beer run for my kid's dad and I, because when I got back, he picked me up with them. And they're like, they knew it was a bad idea. And they're like, hey, why don't we get you some alcohol? Because they're on heroin. They're like, what are we going to do with her? Like, she's going to mess up in like 2 seconds, you know? So they leave me and they go, here, just sit down in front of the TV. Like, here's some snacks. And I was like, oh, fuck this. And I immediately like went into their drawer and found stuff and did it. And they got back and I had my sunglasses on my eyes. And they're like, oh, she messed up already. I know it. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't do anything, you know? But, yeah, so that was just on, like, Donkey Kong for the next month or two. And then we started the boosting shit. You know, it got really, really bad. Got involved with a lot of bad people. Went down to Pittsburgh. It was bad. And some of the stuff I don't even know if I should be talking about because it gets bad. But then, you know, the brother-in-law, that's when we start, like, ripping people off. And we're, like, going in. It was my kid's dad's, like, family member, and he would come with us, and we'd like go in and basically tell some guy I'm gonna hang out with them, and then he'd run in and be like, we gotta go, Bree, after I texted him like I got money. And then I had one guy who stalked me and called the cops on me because I owed him money. That was interesting. But a lot of times I had a way of justifying this. So I was kind of angry at the male population, and that was my excuse for doing these things. And I was like, all right, well, this guy's, you know, say 45 years old. I'm 20. And I'm like, well, if maybe he's just a weirdo. But some of these people were really nice people. I paid back a lot of people, too. And this is the thing that people don't understand with this story. The government itself didn't really hold me super accountable. So I did end up paying back, I think, like 5 or 6 of those people in monthly payments for years because I felt bad that they didn't charge me or they didn't call the cops on me. One kid sold his car to pay it off. It was like a $3,000, and I paid him back for years. I paid back people for my sister that she wrote bad checks with, and she robbed her friends. So I never went with people I knew. She went with people she knew, and then I would start paying those people back, and it was just, and I got stuck with the mess. And, you know, so after this whole Florida thing, we do go back to Florida. We end up getting shifted from like treatment center to treatment center. I got, you know, assaulted, date raped in a hotel by a guy who's supposed to be taking me to treatment. I'm not with my kid's dad because he's at a halfway house somewhere because we left a treatment center, went to a halfway house. And then they're saying I'm the only one who's going to like make it. And they want me to stay because I'm the only one who there's hope for, and put me on suicide watch. I watched some guy get shot. It was fucking insane. Probably the craziest 6 months of my life, hands down. I think it's a great storyline when I talk about it now, but at the time, was it awful? Yes, absolutely. Was it very scary? Yes. I had my stuff held over my head so I couldn't leave places. So like if we had a marketer and he was like our person for the moment, they would hold our belongings so we couldn't go anywhere, so that way we'd show back up if we went on the streets and got high again, or they'd pay us in drugs to go back to treatment. This happened often. Usually they give us dope. We'd be 30 days clean. They'd say we need to go back to detox so they could run our insurance, give us heroin. We get high, send us to detox. They'd make the money off us, tell us they're going to give us money for it. But then we get out and they go, no, you need to go to long-term now. So we go to long-term, and then they bring us drugs into long-term. And it was just this horrible cycle. I think we literally never really even got money from it. A lot of times it just was heroin. Like when I think about it, every marketer that offered us money to go to treatment, I don't think really any of them did give us actual money to get a home and an apartment, like, so we could start our lives down there. Because that was the speech. I'm going to send you here, and then you can start living your lives in like 3 to 6 months, you know, and you guys can come, your kids can come down here, and you don't have to run anymore. And it's the dream. It's Florida. So, you know, did we understand the pattern after, like, say, rehab number 4? Yeah. So we started using it to our advantage. You know, we started burning marketers left and right. And, you know, we were on a blacklist, a very big one. Marketers hated us eventually. Don't take up Bree and Shane because they're going to burn you back. So don't do it. But, you know, people made money off us. Don't worry.
Where in Florida were you mainly floating around?
Miami, Delray, Boynton Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Pompano, Riviera Beach, Hialeah, Deerfield, Coral Springs.
Deerfield's where I have my Florida studio.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
I was at Florida House there.
Uh-huh.
That was Florida House. Florida House was actually really nice.
So I was living in West Palm. I just moved to Jupiter.
Okay. We went to like bumper cars or something in Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a movieplex or something out there we went to with one of these places. Yeah. I like Florida. I still go to Florida all the time. I like it.
Yeah, Delray, Boynton. You have all the rehabs over there.
West Palm and North Palm too.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Florida shuffle is very real.
Oh yeah, and it's still
bouncing
going.
around from rehab to rehab, outpatient, long-term treatment, sober living, etc.
And some of them are great. It's hard because you could go to one and it could be beautiful, and then you could get out and get a nice big bill for $300,000 when you get home, or you go to one that's a trap house and they're all shooting up with a steroid needle, and it's between 20 of you sharing a steroid needle because one of you has dope. I mean, and that's where the techs are trying. Like I had one place. Speaking of that, we were literally in a mansion that was straight trashed. One of the guys I met was a drug dealer who was in the other patient client home. And he would bring the drugs to our place through the tech, who would go bring them back and forth. The other tech was trying to keep us live and safe. This one was a woman. She would literally take our money, go to him, and I know him from New York now, which is insane, but come back and then give it to us, right? And we all had to share one steroid needle between all of us, and we would try to sterilize it and do all this. It's amazing I don't have Hep C, and I don't, and I never did, and I don't know how. I'll probably be into it, but we literally would have to sterilize our equipment because they don't sell needles down there. So like down there to get one is so hard that you're using someone else's. And half the time someone's not going to tell you they have Hep C. They're going to go, oh, I didn't use it, or I don't have Hep C, you're safe, or I never used it yet. And they do. They always do. I learned that one the hard way a few times. But yeah, I mean, it was just, that one place was awful. They actually just went down in a huge case. But, you know, that's the thing. These places all went down. They all are shut down now. I think every single one of them, but
a lot of them are. They're shutting down slowly, and they over-medicate as well.
People die from medication.
So when you were talking about the Suboxone, why aren't you taking it? I understand that you say you're coming off of benzos, you're coming off of this to get all the medications, but also they want to push it because they get such a significantly high margin on
for
all.
You.
Exactly. It's wild. And I mean, look, we could go on for another hour about
this.
All of this, but it's, listen, ultimately, if you want to get sober, you'll get sober and you'll find sobriety. When you are ready, when the pain is great enough, you will find sobriety. That's for me. Everyone around me wanted me to get sober. Everyone around me wanted me to get clean. They wanted me to stop. They wanted me to grow up, do this, do that.
Yep.
And they would try to control my life or intervention me. And then once everyone just kind of pulled back and said, we're not associating anymore, then I just organically hit a bottom. And
I like that.
I finally was like, I want to do this.